Hey everybody, Pastor Terry Roberts here, teaching Developing the Leader Within You 2.0. If you haven't got the book, this is the book. It's the John Maxwell book. Also, there is a workbook. You can get them both on Amazon. I really encourage you to get the workbook because you can do some self-exercises and have discussion questions. And it's really good to challenge yourself. I've really loved the teaching. The sessions so far have been really, really helpful. For those of you that are in this course, you can email Tony at fcfc.tv, and he will send you the videos of the previous sessions. It's not for everybody, but if you're in this course, you can actually get those. We're talking tonight about character. Character is so important, and it's one of those things I was just telling someone. I've been talking about the Sermon on the Mount, which has to do with character. My men's small group this week has to do with character. And so it seems like that's a really, really important message right now. It always is. Character matters. We've all heard the argument that, if you're a president or you're a corporation president or you're a pastor, as long as you can do your job, character doesn't really matter. In other words, if you do your job well, what you do in your private life doesn't really matter, as if you can compartmentalize and just do your job without having character. Somebody once asked John Maxwell, could you talk to me about business ethics? He made a great response to that. He said, there is no such thing as business ethics. There are just ethics. And so if we look at situations that we've all grown up with, presidents who fell, ministers who fell, different people who were involved in corruption, all of the things that were in the news, when I was growing up and are still there, Watergate, the whole thing. You cannot separate character from leadership. Leadership is built on the foundation of character. Now, I am a faith person. I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. So I'm going to teach it from that perspective. But even if you are not a follower of Jesus Christ, if people can't trust you, they're not going to follow you. If people can't trust that you're a person of integrity and character, that you keep your word, that you actually live out your value system, they're not going to follow you. And as a follower of Jesus, how much more is that true? As a pastor, if people don't think that I'm living up to my own preaching, why would they listen to me? And that doesn't mean I'm perfect, and it doesn't mean you're perfect. Character doesn't mean perfection. It means transparency. It means honesty. It means humility. Matter of fact, we respect people more who make a mistake and then say, whoops, I just made a mistake. When somebody is honest with you and they love with you and they don't, in pride, try to hide that they made mistakes, we actually value them more. And so this is not perfection. This is simply being honest and transparent. I would argue that since I've been a little boy, the biggest issue in politics has been character. I'm not picking on anybody, but if you look at the Kennedy situation and then the Nixon situation and then Watergate and all of the different things, I'll stop there because I don't want to get political, but we can all mention all of these different leaders who had character flaws, and that was their downfall. Charisma is your gift. Your skills in life can take you to a certain point, but it's character that keeps you there. Character keeps you where charisma can take you. Charisma, or skill by itself, has no lifetime to it. It disappears, it dissipates, it goes away. You've got to have the character to substantiate that. And the only way to have character is to be brutally honest with yourself. And if you have a problem doing that, ask someone else to be brutally honest with you. That's really, really important. I got some definitions here from the Cambridge Dictionary. Character is a particular combination of qualities in a person or place that makes them different from others. The word ethics is defined by the same dictionary as the study of what is morally right and wrong, a set of beliefs about what is morally right and wrong. And then integrity is the quality of being honest or strong moral principles. In the Bible, the psalmist prayed, Lord, give me an undivided heart, or, integer, integrity, singleness of heart. Singleness of heart is when there's one of you, not two of you. We talk about people being two-faced or a hypocrite. Originally, the word hypocrite was in the theater in Greek, where they would stand behind the mask. You've all seen the frowny face and the smiley face. Well, the actor who stood behind the mask was called a hypocrite. And so someone with two faces, or someone who hides behind a mask. Psalm 86:11 says, teach me your way, O Lord, and I will walk in your truth. Give me an undivided heart, that I may fear your name. So think about that. A divided heart is when there's two of you. is when you have a public persona and then a private life. That's exhausting to do that. You know, I have a little magnet that's on the metal door frame of the room in Warrenton right before I got to preach, and it's a quote by Mark Twain, and it says, "If you tell the truth, you don't have to remember what you said. If you tell the truth, you don't have to remember what you said." I was thinking about people that lived double lives, either in their personal life or in their business life. And I thought immediately about a jeweler that I know of. I've never shopped there, but I know someone who took their jewelry there to get it cleaned or repaired. And when they came back, the jeweler had switched diamonds. And, you know, he might have got a few extra bucks on that deal, but because the word about that has gotten out, his integrity has cost him a lot of business. So even though you can make a short-term gain, if you don't walk in integrity and character, you're making a long-term loss. You know, we hear about pastors. It's in the news constantly. You know, somebody's had a secret girlfriend for years or something. And I've been in so many situations where I've seen people who were incredibly gifted, but come to find out later there was something, you know, some monkey business going on. And you hear about business leaders who embezzle, you know, millions from their businesses. I know of a church secretary in a small school in a small town who was the secretary for years, and it ended up that she had stole hundreds of thousands of dollars from that school over the years by just not reporting cash that came through the office. Don't quote me on the amount, but it was an amazing amount of money. And so every time I now think of that person that I knew when I was growing up, I now think, oh yeah, she embezzled the school. And so, you know, there's so many things like that. People who have a retail business or a construction business where they take, you know, all the payment in cash because they don't want to report it as income. You know, we've all got stories. Maybe you've got your own stories about you. The good news is, if you have done that, you can start from right here. If that's been the way you've operated, today's the day to change. You know, bring your whole life above board. You know, we hide things because we're ashamed of them. Don't have anything in your life that you're ashamed of. Bring it above board, set it on the table. Find somebody who loves you, that you can tell the truth about you to. Most of all, tell God the truth about you. And then, equally important almost, is tell you the truth about you. Walk in the truth, admit the truth, and then deal with those issues that are keeping you from being a person of integrity. And I just love the word transparency or honesty. I love it in Maxwell's book. He talks about the Watergate crisis. And when it happened, Billy Graham, a famous minister, said, everybody has a little bit of Watergate in him. That's such a good perspective, because if we're not careful, we can use this issue of integrity to condemn and judge everyone else, when the truth is, it begins by judging ourselves. The truth is, every one of us have fallen and have the potential to fall. And so you're not excluded from character because of mistakes. You're excluded from character because of lying and pride. If you'll admit the truth, you can go from here on. And so, you know, whether you're a follower of Jesus or not, you need to walk in the truth. Here's some things that Maxwell quotes from Scripture. Great book. It says, our hearts can be deceptive. People argue with me about forms of government. And I say, you know, I have people arguing with me saying, this is the best form of government, except for the people. Well, that's true with every form of government. On paper, lots of things work, except for the human heart. The human heart is deceptive. The human heart is flawed. The great thing about the founding fathers of America is they made an allowance for the flawed human heart and put in checks and balances so that they could check each other, and they knew that people were going to do goofy things. And so if you're living under the illusion that anyone on planet Earth is perfect except for Jesus Christ, wow, start by looking in the mirror, because that is simply not true. Your character and the temptation to compromise is the area that faces greatest attack in your life. It's so easy to just do something thinking nobody will know. Well, I'm not going to report this money because the IRS will never catch me. Yeah, but you got to live with yourself from now on. Everywhere you go, there you are. And you got to live with yourself. And who wants to spend that much time with someone that doesn't have integrity? I mean, who wants to spend that much time with themselves knowing that they're not a person of integrity? It's really demeaning to know that you can't be trusted. I mean, that's amazing. Christian leadership, simply can't exist long without integrity. I mean, that's the hallmark of Christian leadership. If you're not walking in integrity, do something else, because that's so frustrating for everyone else who's trying to follow Jesus. We struggle with character when we have outstanding charisma, because charisma can take you places where only character can keep you. It's easy to be a hypocrite and project a false image of ourselves. Boy, that's true for every one of us. It's easy to project an image. This is what I want you to think about me, rather than saying this is who I really am. Character really counts in hard times. I recently taught a Sermon on the Mount, Jesus' sermon, in Matthew 5-7, and I used the picture of an iceberg where a little bit stuck above and a lot is underneath. And that's the way it is with character. People see the part that sticks above the surface, but the real you is that part of you that's underneath. Who are you when you're all alone? Who are you when you're by yourself? What do you think about when you're by yourself? I would like to introduce you to you. That's the real you. Who are you when you're by yourself? I think it's a great exercise that Maxwell has. He says, write down, or at least think about, the top 3 people that you trust. And usually when you say, who do you trust most in life, people will say, a family member, our friend, and sometimes they'll put a coworker. And so the question he asks is, if someone would ask this question to your coworker, would any of them put you down as one of the persons that they trust? Do people trust you? Good character builds strong trust. Trust is such a gigantic thing in business. I mean, when you get a car dealer that you can trust. I know a guy, I won't even mention a brand of a car, but I've dealt with him several times. He didn't pull any punches. He had go in and say, here's the deal, and he would just say, here's what it cost me, here's the deal. I loved that. I loved the fact that he was honest. He just told me the truth. I could trust him, and I could do business with him because I trust him. How many people in your life do you do business with simply because you trust them? I can't say enough about that. Whatever your role is in business, in education, in the church, whatever it is, you need to gain the trust of the people around you by being honest and for real. So the 3 questions people want to ask their leaders is this: do you like me? Can you help me? And can I trust you? There's a translation that talks about being duplicitous. I mean, we hear duplicity in there. Duplicates, 2 of us. Duplicitous means two-faced. And it's interesting. It means deceiving others and not telling the truth. Dishonest, untrustworthy, devious, or deceitful. All of us are tempted to do that. What I'm saying to you in this lesson is, don't yield to that temptation. Actually, being a person of integrity helps other people, but it's also self-serving. Being a person that's trustworthy and a person of character actually makes your life go better. As you are trustworthy, the people who deal with you are better off, but you're better off because it allows you to deal with more people because they trust you. So we have a term called an honest mistake. People love it when you say, okay, I made an honest mistake. And Maxwell makes a quote in his book that's really true. Think about it in your personal example. But people quit people. They don't quit companies. When someone works somewhere and they can't stand the people they're around, they can't stand to go to work. No matter what widget that company makes, they don't quit companies. They quit people because the whole idea is you want to be in relationship. You want to be on a team. And you want to be on a team that you can trust people. You want to be able to say anything and be honest. And you trust them enough to tell them the truth and let them tell you the truth. So it's really important. He talks about successful leaders embrace 4 dimensions of character. 4 dimensions of character. One is authenticity. Think about what that is. Authenticity, authentic, or just true, real. It just means being real. When King David made a mistake, he said to God, you desire truth in the inmost being. In other words, authenticity. You just want me to be myself. It isn't that I'm perfect. You just want me to be honest. We have an external image that people see. It's our social media side. How many people are projecting an image on social media that has got nothing to do with who they really are? You know, this is my public persona, but this is the real me. Well, God is looking at the real you. Not only that, the people in your world are looking at the real you. It doesn't matter how good your PR is to project your image. If that's not the real you, it's going to come out. It's exhausting to hide the real you if the real you is different from the outer you. It's exhausting to hide the person on the inside that's always going to be breaking out into your real life. So it's a lot easier just to be one person so that the inner man and the outer man are the same. People would rather someone be a goofball but honest as project an image but never be trustworthy. So think about that. I love what he says about living between the lines. You know, the fact that this is all my successes and this is all my failures. But the truth is, we have to live in between and say, sometimes I make successes, sometimes I've made failures. Only when you can live with those, two extremes in your life and project those two extremes can you be whole in your soul. I've won some, I've lost some. I'm not going to hide my losses, and I'm not going to let the wind go to my head. I'm going to be honest. Sometimes I made mistakes, sometimes I did great. I'm going to live in between the lines in the middle where I'm whole in my soul, and I'm okay with who I am. God is okay with who I am because I'm honest and I'm living it out. People love honest people. Think of someone in your life who probably regularly makes mistakes, but you love them dearly because they're transparent and they don't try to hide their mistakes. And we can think of people like that, and we smile when we think about them. We love their authenticity. Isn't that great? Authenticity is living between the lines and being honest with God, honest with yourself, and honest with other people in your life. People admire your strengths and your wins, but they relate to your weaknesses. When someone sees you doing really, really well, they say, that's good, I admire that. But when they see your weaknesses, they say, hey, I bet I can do that too, because I'm flawed as well. So they admire your strengths and your successes, but they relate to your weaknesses. It's so important that we are just people who let the guard down. Not to everybody, not everything, but the people in your world who are close to you need to know the truth about you. That is so, so important. The next thing he says is self-management. Ruth Haley Barton, who's a great author, said this: we set young leaders up for a fall if we encourage them to envision what they can do before considering the kind of person they can be. We talk about success as what you can accomplish. God looks at success as who you can become. Who you are becoming is more important than what you are doing. The world says, look at the part above the iceberg. Look at the outer. God says, that's part of it, but there's a whole lot more underneath. I'm going to read her quote again. It is so good. We set young leaders up for a fall if we encourage them to envision what they can do before they consider what kind of person they should be. Who are you becoming? Discover your values and then just simply live them out. Build your integrity, not your image. Your image will take care of itself. Matter of fact, if you project a false image, that's really worse than having no image, because you got to rebuild the false image. So the first step to leadership is self-management. If you're unable to discipline and lead yourself, you're unable to lead others. The first step in leadership is to lead yourself. If you can't discipline and lead yourself, you can't lead other people. And you got to be able to trust yourself before you can project that trust to other people. The next thing is humility. Humility is another way of saying living in the truth. Humility is the opposite of pride. It's the ability to receive what you don't deserve. And pride talks about what your rights are. I'm not going to get cheated. This is my rights. Humility is the ability to receive what you don't deserve. Humility is secure. Pride is insecure. It feels like it has to defend itself. Humility says, if I walk in the truth, it's all going to come out. And so that is important. So self-management, humility, and courage. We all need to be encouraged, which simply means to put courage in. You love it when people come around you and encourage you. It's interesting how important courage is. And I can't talk about courage without thinking about the Cowardly Lion in The Wizard of Oz, who wanted courage. And I think courage is the ability to just do what you're supposed to do, even when you're afraid. Even when there's fear in your life, you just walk through the fear and say, I'm going to do this because it's the right thing to do. I love that. Courage makes character possible because it gives you the strength to do what is right, even when it's hard. Courage makes character possible because it puts strength in you to do the right thing, even when you're afraid or you maybe don't even want to do the right thing. You just say, this is the right thing. I have courage and boldness to just do it. Courage comes from the deep conviction that you're acting on the truth. Or another way to say that is, You know you're doing the right thing, so you just go on. The last thing is courage makes you bigger on the inside than the outside. That's our iceberg example. That is integrity. That is character. Courage makes you bigger on the inside than the outside. We want to grow our leadership and our role in our business, ministry, and life by making our appearance or our image better. And the truth is, the real long-lasting way to do that is to make the true you, your character, bigger, and then the image will catch up with itself. We continually choose image or integrity, outside versus inside. There's a quote on page 68 of your book. Maxwell quotes John Ortberg. I've actually seen this and used this quote before. He's got some really good things to say in that book. He says this, quote, "Your soul is what integrates your will, which is your intentions, your mind, which is your thoughts, your feelings, your values, and your conscience, and your body, your face, body language, and actions, into a single life. A soul is healthy and well-ordered when there's harmony between these three entities and God's intent for all creation. When you are connected with God and other people in life, you have a healthy soul." He goes on to say this, "A healthy soul is whole. It's not fractured. It has internal integrity, and a divided life separates us from our own soul." You cannot be happy in life if you know you're lying in your life and you're being deceptive. You don't even trust yourself. If there's no character, no integrity, you really can never find joy in a life that doesn't have integrity. A healthy soul is whole. It's not fractured. It has internal integrity. A divided life separates us from our soul. The soul without a center finds its identity in externals. In other words, there's something about us that wants to chase, outer things, money, accomplishments, promotion, degrees, whatever it is on the outside. You chase those things to your own demise too much when you're not content with who you are. Once you can live with who you really are, then you're okay, with whatever happens out here. And sooner or later, this will adapt to your inner man. If you focus on your inner man, the outer man will straighten out. Jesus said it this way: "Seek first the kingdom of God, and to live righteously, or to have character, and all these things will be added." So put first things first, and remember that character matters.